there, my name's Dave and welcome to another Guitar Zero to Hero song tutorial. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you a classic, My Girl by The Temptations. I'll teach you two different ways of playing this song in this lesson. The first method is going to be more of a strummed and flat picked version, which includes the iconic guitar riff that you hear in the original recording. And the second way I'm going to teach you how to play this is a stripped back, finger picked version, loosely based off Boyce Avenue's cover of this song. If you want to master your chords back to front, then be sure to head over to guitarzerotohero.com to pick up my free guitar ebook. Or if you're fairly new to guitar and you're looking to build a strong and solid foundation but you don't know where to start, then be sure to check out the Guitar Zero to Hero Premium course and membership, which gives you all the guidance to play with confidence. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Let's jump into the lesson. I'll start off with a strummed and flat picked version of playing this song, which features that iconic guitar riff you hear in the original recording. If you want a stripped back, finger picked version, then skip to the second half of this lesson. Let's start with the intro here. There's one line of tab. We're going to get into a C5 position like this. So index finger on the C note, the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and I use my pinky finger, but you can use your ring finger as well if you want, on the 5th fret of the 4th string. So we're going to start with the lead-in note here before we get to the main bass section. All right, so the lead-in note is just going to be the 5th fret of the 4th string with an upstroke. With these first two bars, anytime I hit the 4th string, it's going to be an upstroke. Anytime I hit a 5th string, it's going to be a downstroke. So that occurs on the end beat after the 4, and then we get into the main bass riff. So for this bass riff, we're just going to hit the C note twice. On the end beat after 2, hit the 4th string with an upstroke. So 1 and 2 and that's our main section for this bass riff that we're going to repeat through 4 times. And together with the lead-in note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now one other thing you can add is a little bit of palm muting to this bass riff to make it sound a bit more like a bass guitar. What you'll do is use the fleshy bit of your palm, rest it lightly on the edge of the bridge as you pluck those notes, and it'll sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then we get to the fun part, which is the main guitar lick that you hear in the original recording. So we're going to start with that C note, hold that out, and then we have a 5-note run, which goes 5th fret, 7th, then 5th fret of the 4th, 7th, and then up to the 5th fret of the 3rd. So that 5-note run. And together with the first note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now, interesting thing to note is that that lick is essentially a C major pentatonic scale. We're just running up the C major pentatonic scale with that lick. And that's played through twice. That's everything for the intro, which sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. You can choose to play that main guitar lick with all downstrokes, or you could use alternate picking like this. It's completely up to you. Next we get to the verse. Now you have two options here. You can use the main guitar lick or you can strum some chords. It's completely up to you. Let's start with the guitar lick since it's fresh in our minds. So there's one line of tab here and we're just going to start off with that C major pentatonic lick. And then we're going to shift and play the exact same pattern but starting with our F note now. So it's an F pentatonic scale. So that starts on the 1st fret of the 6th string, and the position and movements relative to that first note are identical. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So we'll just alternate between the C and the F major pentatonic for 4 bars, and that will sound like this. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. 1, 2. And that line of tab is just repeated through twice for the verse. That's one way of playing it. Now for an easy strummed version, if you want to just strum and sing along, we start with a C and then we go to an F. So you can play an F major bar chord or you can play this F, which I prefer. So you keep your index and ring finger where it is from the C chord, but move your middle finger down to the second fret of the third string, and pinky finger goes on the fourth fret of the fourth string. And if you can, reach your thumb over the top to hit the first fret of the sixth string. So this is an F chord, then back to C and back to F. Now for this strummed version, we can just strum each chord with a down, up, down, up, up, down, up. So it's an eighth note strumming pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and together with the chords. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that's an easy strummed way of playing the verse. For the playthrough at the end of this lesson, I'll be using the picked riff for the first verse, and for the second verse, I'll be using the strummed chords. Next we get to the chorus. There's 2 lines of chords here. We're going to start with the C major chord, and then we'll go to a D minor 7. So for a D minor 7, put your index finger over the first fret of the second and first strings, and then middle finger on the second fret of the third string. And we're just focusing from the fourth string onwards. It's really important that you don't let that sixth string ring out. So I use my thumb to reach over the top and lightly hit that sixth string. So if you happen to hit the fifth string, it's not too bad, but really try to focus from the fourth string onwards. Now these 2 chords are contained within 1 bar. And we're gonna just be playing a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up strumming pattern. At eighth notes, we're gonna change on the 3 beat. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Then we'll go to an F, and then a G. Now the easiest way to transition from this F to a G is to just move your ring finger up to the 3rd fret of the 6th string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. If you can, put your pinky on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Although it's not entirely necessary, you can just focus on strumming the heavier 4 or 5 strings and just muting that 1st string if you want. Same thing with the F and G, they're both in 1 bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So the first line of chords. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. That's played through twice, and then we get to the second line of chords, which is C major 7. So it's the same as a C, but you can lift your index finger. Now we're going to return back to the strumming pattern that we had for the verse. So down, up, down, up, up, down, up. We're going to play that for 2 bars on the C major 7, 1 bar on the D major 7, and then for the final bar we'll go to our G, but we'll just strum it once and then mute the strings quickly after. So strum and drop your palm onto the side so that the strings don't ring out. And on 3 beat, we go to an F chord. Now, I like to play this just as a power chord. So I'm just hitting the 1st fret of the 6th string and with my ring and pinky finger on the 3rd frets of the 5th and 4th. And we're just gonna strum this with a down, down, and then to a G. And I just use my free middle finger here to hit the 3rd fret of the 6th string with another down, down. And keep that 5th string muted as you're fretting down the 6th string. And that final bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The other thing is that stylistically for the 3 and 4 beat, I like to add some palm muting. So flesh a bit of your palm on the bridge, and that's just better for that little section at the end, I think. So the final line of chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and all together the chorus. After the first chorus, we jump back into another verse and then a second chorus. So nothing new to learn there. And then after the second chorus, there's a break. Now the break is essentially just the same as the intro, but without the lead-in note at the start. So we jump straight into the bass riff. And the guitar lick. Next we get to the instrumental section. For the solo section, we're just strumming chords here, and we're using that strumming pattern in the verse. So we have C, and then F, C, and then F, and then D minor 7, G, an E minor chord, and then an A major chord. But with this A major chord, we're just strumming it down 3 times. So 1 and 2, and then you'll want to quickly mute your strings after that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the instrumental section in total. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. There's now a key change in the song, so all the chords that we have previously learnt get shifted up 2 semitones. So verse number 3 is just 2 chords, D major and then G, really nice and easy, and we'll keep the same strumming pattern. For the final chorus, there are 3 lines of chords here. So we're going to start with the D, E minor 7. So from the D, keep your ring finger where it is. Put your pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string and index and middle on the 2nd frets of the 5th and 4th string. That's our E minor 7. Then G, and then A. I like to play this particular A by just barring my index finger across the 2nd frets of the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string and focusing on those middle 4 strings. Again, each chord is just played for half a bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. That's played through twice. For the second line of chords, we have D major 7. So that's index finger barred across the 2nd frets of the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. Strum from the 4th string onwards. And we're going to strum this with a down, down, up, down. 2 bars of that. Then the E minor 7. For the final bar, there's essentially 4 chords here, but we're really just going to be focusing on the root notes of each chord. So starting with an A, and we're going to hit this with 2 downstrokes. 1 and then on the 2 beat, we change to a G, 2 and. Then on the 3 beat, we change to an F sharp minor, but you only really need to focus on playing a power chord like this. So index finger on the 2nd fret of the 6th string and ring finger and pinky finger on the 4th frets of the 5th and 4th. 2 downstrokes here, 3 and then for the final chord, it's an E minor. So from the F, just shift your ring and pinky finger down 2 frets to the 2nd frets and 2 downstrokes there. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and notice again, I'm using a little bit of palm muting there to just make it sound a bit nicer and a bit more dynamic. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the second line of chords. That second line of chords is played through twice. And for the third line of chords, it's almost the same, except for the 4th bar, we're just playing an A major for 1 full strumming pattern and then ending the song with the D major 7. So the final chorus in total would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's everything for the strummed and flat picked version. Now let's dive into a stripped back finger picked version. This is loosely based off Boyce Avenue's version of this song, which is absolutely phenomenal. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Let's start with the intro, and we are starting with the C major chord Now in terms of finger picking, your thumb will take care of the 6th, 5th and 4th strings, and your index, middle and ring finger will take care of the 3rd, 2nd and 1st strings respectively. Ideally, they won't pluck any other strings other than the ones they've been assigned to. So for the intro, there's one line of tab here. For this first bar, we have a C chord, and we're just going to be plucking from the 5th string up to the 2nd string at 8th notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and holding it out for the full bar. Really nice and simple. Then we switch to an F over C. So it's the same as our F chord, but there's no necessity to have that thumb reaching over the top to hit the 1st fret of the 6th string. You can just focus on the middle 4 strings, and we're plucking the exact same strings here, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and holding it out for the full bar. For the 3rd bar, we go back to our C major. We're adding in 3 extra strums. So 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then 3rd, 4th, 3rd. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then the 4th bar is back to our F over C, similar to the 2nd bar. That's it for the intro, which sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 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 So that's it for the intro, which is also the same as the verse, except in the verse, we're just playing it through twice. Now let's get to the chorus. There's 2 lines of tab here. We're going to start with our C, and we're just going to pluck 3 notes here, the 5th, 4th, and 3rd. Then we go to a D minor 7 chord like this, and we're going to pluck the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, and the bar in total. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And the next bar we go to an F, but we're playing an easy F chord. From the D minor 7, you just need to take your ring finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the 4th string. We pluck the exact same 3 strings, so 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then on the 3 beat shift up to a G. So it's the same shape, just up 2 frets, and pluck the same strings. So the first 2 bars, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 3rd and the 4th bars are identical to the 1st and 2nd bars, so nothing new to learn there. For the 2nd line of tab, after our G chord, we're going to go to a C major 7, which looks like this. So from the G chord, keep your ring and middle finger where they are. Take your pinky finger, put on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, and index finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, the C note. This is a C major 7, and we're going to pluck 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, hold that out for a beat, and then 3rd, 4th, 3rd. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And play that for 2 bars, and then we go to a D minor 7. We're going to pluck a similar rhythm, but just different strings. So 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, then 2nd, 3rd, 2nd. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then we go to a G chord, and you can play this a lazy way by just putting your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string and pluck 6th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, and let that ring out. That's it for the 2nd line of tab, which sounds like this. 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and the chorus in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a second verse and chorus, which is the same as the first verse and chorus, and then we have a break. Now for this break section, we're just staying on a C chord, and we're going to play something like this. So we're going to pluck the 5th, 4th, and 3rd, and then we're going to go back to the 4th string, but we're going to start by hitting an open 4th string and hammering on our middle finger back into place. And that's at 8th note, so don't just pluck the open 4th string and hammer on straight away. You have to let that note ring out for its intended length and then hammer on. So 1 and 2 and 3. We're going to do the same with the 3rd string, so pluck the open 3rd string and then take your middle finger and hammer that onto the 2nd fret. And then end with the 2nd string by itself. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're going to play that through 4 times. Next is the instrumental section, and there's 2 lines of tab here. We're going to start with the C chord, pluck the 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings, and then 3rd, 4th, 3rd. A simple pattern that we've had previously in the song. We do the same to an F over C, and then back to another C and another F over C. So the first line of tab, pretty simple. Then we go to a D minor 7 with that same picking pattern, but 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd. Then a G chord, just a lazy one, 6th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. Then an E minor with the same picking pattern. And an A major chord with the same picking pattern as the C and the F over C. That's it for the instrumental, which will sound like this. Next we get to verse number 3. Now there is a key change here, so all the chords are shifted up 2 semitones. So for the verse we now have a D and a G major. For the D we'll pluck 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and then 2nd, 3rd, 2nd. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then go to a G chord. The picking pattern will be similar except for the root note. We'll hit the 6th string to start off, not the 4th. So the verse. And that line of tabs is played through twice. And now we get to the final chorus. Now there's 3 lines of tab here. For our first line of tab, we will start with a D and we'll just pluck 4th, 3rd, 2nd. And then we'll go to an E minor 7, so just move your index finger up to the 2nd fret of the 4th string and pluck the same strings. Then we'll play a G triad like this. This is the shape we had in the first chorus. We're going to play this with the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, and then move this up to an A chord, so up 2 frets. So the first 2 bars, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Those 2 bars are just repeated through again. So that first line of tab is pretty simple. For the second line of tab, this is maybe the trickiest part of this fingerpicked version. We go to a D major 7. So it's the same as our C major 7 shape we had earlier, but up at 5th, 6th, and 7th frets. We're going to play the same picking pattern as well. So 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. Play that for 2 bars. And then we're going to shift up to an E minor 7. So for the E minor 7 from the D major 7, shift everything up 2 frets. And then lift your pinky finger. Your middle finger will move to the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And your index finger will now be responsible with pushing down on the 7th fret of the 5th and the 3rd string. So you'll need to flatten out your index finger to bar across those 2 notes. And those other 2 fingers will take care of the 4th and 2nd string. We play the same picking pattern here as the D major 7. Now if barring that index finger to get that 3rd string is too difficult, then you can just kind of cheat and just play an E minor chord instead of an E minor 7. But E minor 7 sounds a little nicer in my opinion. Then for the final bar, we're going to play some octaves. Index finger on the 5th fret of the 6th and pinky finger on the 7th fret of the 4th. So these are 2 A notes. Now this is one instance where our index finger can actually come up to the 4th string and help us out here. So we'll pluck 6th, 4th, and then shift down to the G. So that's 2 frets. Then shift down 1 fret to the F sharp. And then finally, we're going to go to an E. So you can just put your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string and hit the open 6th and then 4th string. 8 plucks there, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So in total for the second line of tab, 1 and 2. That's repeated through twice. The third liner tab is almost the same, except for the fourth bar, we're just going to play an A7 like this. So index and middle finger on the 5th frets of the 4th and 2nd, and ring finger on the 6th fret of the 3rd string. We're going to pluck the open 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then end on our D major 7. So pretty nice and easy. That's chorus 3 in total, which will sound like this all together. That's everything for this finger-picked version. So now I'll be doing 2 playthroughs of the song. The first playthrough will be the flat-picked and strummed version, and the second playthrough will be a finger-picked version. Big thanks to my friend Eric for lending his awesome vocals to this playthrough. Feel free to play this back as many times as you'd like to practice, play along to, and see how you go. Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this lesson, then I know you'll absolutely love these other lessons too. So hit the link here. Or if you want to grab a copy of my free guitar ebook, then head over to guitarzerotohero.com or click the link here. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.